Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Dave Seaton, founder of Chicken Dinner Club, an energetic online community and growth accelerator designed specifically for independent consultants seeking to land bigger, more rewarding projects through authentic engagement on LinkedIn. Dave, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you. It is great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me back to before you started Chicken Dinner Club. What were you doing beforehand, and then what really motivated you to start the company?
Before I started Chicken Dinner Club, I was an independent consultant, and I am still an independent consultant, which I think is pretty relevant for the Chicken Dinner Club members because what we're learning about what we're doing, I am actually doing as I run my independent consulting company, Seaton CX. So that's what I've been doing for the last 4.5 years or so. In Seaton CX, we help companies understand their customer behavior so they can make better business decisions and more money. And what happened is as work is weird right now, right? Lots of layoffs, AI, changing jobs, changing companies, economic and geopolitical instability. A lot's going on with work over the last couple of years. And a lot of people were reaching out asking, how did I become an independent consultant? How was I finding clients? How was I making this work? And it was those questions that led me to consider starting Chicken Dinner Club, which is insane. If you're an entrepreneur running one business, why would you start another one? So I ignored my own advice, which to anyone would be don't chase shiny objects, don't start something new, double down and focus on the thing that's working, and started Chicken Dinner Club. And so I did a very quiet pilot at the end of last year in 2024. People were interested. They gave me money for it. But the platform I'd built it on, I didn't feel like it was going to be set up for sustained growth. So I tore everything down. I rebuilt it again in January of this year. I launched in March of 2025, and we've been slowly growing our membership of independent consultants who, like you said, they want to find fulfilling work, fun clients, and live that independent consulting lifestyle.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And just because you're being humble, I'm going to shout it out right now. Build 295,000 and $295,000 pipeline in 100 days. That is the tagline. I love that for a chicken
Nice.
club. Just to let the listeners know. Can you walk us through? So I think it's very clear your ideal customer is independent consultants. What does it actually look like to be part of the Chicken Dinner Club? What am I actually getting myself into?
We have the online community platform, 24/7 networking engagement, Q&A with other independent consultants. We have 2 live meetups, training events per week where we'll deep dive into a specific topic about sales process, call control, those sorts of topics,
Mm,
or marketing, which
mm,
is marketing I define as the one to many conversations that you're having. Content creation on LinkedIn, going on podcasts like I'm doing right now, how you spread your message in a one to many format. So we've covered things like creative writing tips to make your content stand out on LinkedIn amid the sea of AI generated sameness that's out there right now. How to design a sales process, how to really, we call it a sales process, but as an independent consultant, you really need to design a buying experience for your
mm.
clients.
Yeah.
And so we talk about how to do that so that it's fun to hire you. really important to differentiate
Yeah,
yourself from everyone else out there.
100%. I like that. In terms of the revenue and how you actually make money with this, is this like a monthly subscription? Is this like a package that I buy for 3 months, 6 months? What does that actually look like?
It is a monthly subscription. And it, in I created what I wish had existed for me when I became an independent consultant in 2021.
Mm.
So it's a low ticket offer. You're not going to pay me $1,000 a month, right?
What?
It's
What if I
currently
wanted to?
then we can talk about some sort of one-on-one or group coaching program. But this is really designed as a business expense that any new independent consultant can easily incur. There's
Mm.
no long-term commitments. You can cancel at any time. Like I built the thing I wished I'd had 4.5 years ago.
That is awesome. Yeah, I love that. And is it on school.com or
It
no?
is not. I am using Kajabi.
Okay, very cool. I just
Yeah.
know a lot of people are using school nowadays. That's what we use. That's why I ask. Now, you mentioned one-on-one group coaching. Is that something that you offer separately on top
That's
of it?
something I may offer in the future if people want it.
I see. Okay.
Businesses go through cycles, through stages, right? And my consulting business is in a more healthy growth stage. I've got an offer, I've got assets built, I know how to acquire clients, I'm fully booked right now, I'm building out a client wait list, right? Chicken Dinner Club is in the startup stage.
Mm,
We're still testing, do we have the right audience? Do we have the right offer? How are we messaging to them? All the things that startups have to deal with. That's where Chicken Dinner Club is right now.
got it. Now, I talk to hundreds of coaches, consultants, agency owners. There's a lot of consultants that listen to this specifically. You mentioned something about Seaton where you've got a solid offer, you've got client, you're fully booked right now, you're building a client wait list. The majority of consultants I talk to struggle with lead generation and sales. So two-part question. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think the majority of them are very good at what they do, but they can't necessarily acquire clients? And then the second part is, what is your approach to that? What advice would you give them if they're listening to this and saying, "Hey, Dave, I'm struggling with client acquisition"?
Yeah. Most consultants I talk to are the same way. And that was my story too. Leaving
Mm,
a 21 plus year corporate career, very good at what I did, my service. I call that the delivery side of the business. And that's where most consultants are. They're very good at delivery, they're focused on delivery, but there's another side of the business called demand.
mm,
And independent consultants have to get just as good at winning the work as they are at doing the work.
mm,
And until you're at a place where your delivery, your supply side is all filled up, your job is demand. And that's very uncomfortable
yeah.
for a lot of us. Came from a corporate career, maybe a little uncomfortable with sales. We don't like to think of sales, it feels icky. We want to have relationships. So we hide behind these words like business development, relationship management, thought partnership. We hide behind the words
Yeah.
so we don't have to confront that every business needs sales. And if you want to make it as an independent consultant, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And you
Mm,
have to acquire this new demand generation skill that you likely don't have.
yeah. Where do you suggest people start when it comes to demand gen? Let's say I don't really know much about marketing. Where do I start?
You start by having conversations.
Mm,
So, another mistake many people starting out make, they get really busy with their podcast, their blog, their website, the tools they're going to use, and they mistake this busyness for progress, and it's not. So, if you're starting out as an independent consultant, first thing you need to do is make a list of 100 people in your network former bosses, former colleagues, people that you know, 100 people in your network that could either hire you or introduce you to someone who could hire you. All right, take your list of 100 people, start having conversations with them and listening for their problems. You're not selling anything at this point. You can even package it as I'm doing some market research and create a really good infographic, lead magnet, whatever, based on what you learn. But have conversations, talk to people, listen for problems, and then you can begin to design your offer, which is how you're going to solve those problems, what you're going to do, what they get at the end, the outcomes they can expect, how much it costs, all of those components to build an offer. Then you start talking to people about your offer.
Yeah.
And if you find one person who will buy your offer, who will pay you money for those things, now you've moved on to step two, right? If no one you talk to will buy it, then the offer's bad and you got to go back to the drawing board and talk to more people and find more problems. Once someone buys your offer, now you're off to the races. Now you're putting together your proprietary method, you're delivering, you're getting a client testimonial, you're asking them what went well, what didn't go well, where their expectations were different than the experience they had. You're using that to refine your offer. You're going back and talking to more people. Now it's great to begin creating content, doing that marketing, whether that's a YouTube channel, a blog, if blogs aren't dead, we don't know yet. LinkedIn is definitely where I play as a B2B consultant. I'm selling to mid-market companies. They're on LinkedIn, right? If you're selling to local service-based businesses like pest control and tire shops, they may not be on LinkedIn. You may have to do something differently, right, to do that one-to-many conversations. But then that's where you start. And guess what? That's a skill too. You can't just go into ChatGPT and say, write me a LinkedIn post on customer journey mapping and get something out that's good enough that people are going to book a sales call with you or an intro call, right?
100%.
Content marketing, content development is another skill. Now, any of these things, you can either learn to do it yourself if you want to be truly independent, or you can outsource it. That's another way to grow your business. If you really hate writing content, then make videos or outsource it to somebody who can write your content for you. You've got a ton of options. I heard a great quote from Daniel Priestley last week. Entrepreneurship is a choose your own adventure.
100%.
100%.
I like that a lot. Sorry, we're gonna,
But
yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
yeah. But to grow your business, you've got to be out there generating demand.
100%. Now, once that demand is generated, once you're having those conversations, you mentioned something that I found interesting, which is making the sales process fun, make it fun to hire you. First
Yeah.
off, what do you mean by that? And then what does that practically look like from a sales process standpoint?
Sure. Your buyer has a process. Anybody who buys anything, whether we're buying cars, mattresses, B2B software, as buyers, right, we all have a process rooted in a general mistrust of salespeople from all the bad salespeople who have come before. And as buyers, our process is to act interested. Oh, yeah, that's really fascinating. Tell me more about that. Gather information. Oh, where does it start? How much does it cost? What do I get at the end? Step three of the buyer's process, withhold information. I don't know. We're just considering options. I'm going to take all this back to my boss and they're going to make the decision. No, I don't know what our budget is right now. They withhold information. And then step four is they disappear. And I didn't make that up. That's from Sandler, sales training.
Yeah.
So if we don't have our own process, then we get caught in their process. And I lived in that way for 18 months or so when I first started being a consultant. And I was lied to, stolen from. I gave away free consulting, had my IP taken, and was miserable, right? What we have to do instead is we have to control the process, but let's turn that into an experience. So, my
Mm.
corporate background and what I do on my consulting side is all about customer experience and experience design, right? So, how can we make the other thing for independent consultants is we're not trying to close a deal, we're trying to onboard a client,
Mm.
right? Because we're not like a typical B2B salesperson where we dust off our hands and
Yeah.
hand off the client to delivery. Independent consultants are delivery. So our sales process or our buying experience has to reflect that. So, how can we defuse all of the typical resistances to a salesperson as independent consultants by building the relationship and then creating an experience that they don't expect that shows as they go through it the kind of value we can provide. Here's an example, right? One of the things that my consultant clients often want is a workshop, right? They need to do this thing. They think that a workshop is the right vehicle, and so they reach out about doing a workshop. So, in my strategy session, rather than spouting off my expertise about workshops and what I've done and me, we make it about them. What do they want to get out of the workshop? Who's going to be at the workshop? And I actually pop a Miro board. Miro's a whiteboarding tool that I use, virtual online whiteboarding tool. I pop a Miro board into the Zoom meeting that they can interact with that's pre-populated with my workshop template. And we co-create
Cool.
what they want to have.
Super cool.
And so it gives them a ton of value and it eliminates all of that posturing and resistance. Like we're on the same team
Mm.
co-creating the experience that they want to have, right? Versus us being on opposing teams doing this dance of I'm going to sell and they're going to buy and all of that.
100%. I love that so much because now we're on the same side of the dinner table instead of being combatants. And there's multiple things happening. I love sales and sales philosophy, and I've invested so much in sales. But visually, they can be more bought in when I can have a visual in front of me that I'm like, okay, this is like what we're getting. And two, you're future pacing them of this is what the workshop will be, this is what's going to happen, this is the result that your team is going to get. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
You're also, there's a subtle thing going on where you are showing up as the leader and the expert, where you need to be as a consultant. Otherwise, you're just a contractor, you're an order taker, you're just on a contract to fulfill whatever they want. Real consulting is showing up as that leader. I
Mm,
know what I'm doing. I've done it before. I've developed this template. We're going to walk through it together to make sure you get the result that you want.
yeah. Have you ever heard of Oren Klaff?
I have not, no.
So he wrote two books that I think you'd love. One is called Pitch Anything,
Okay.
Oren Klaff, and then the other one is called Flip the Script. And in the first one, he talks about the idea of frames. And I'm sure you've heard of this concept of every interaction, there's a frame that we're entering through, if that makes sense. Basically, if the people that are listening, they don't understand frames, imagine the Mona Lisa, right? It's a beautiful painting, but if you put duct tape around it and then that's how that you frame it, it's not going to be perceived as prestigious. And
Right.
then, but then you get a really nice high quality frame, it's different. When I enter into a sales scenario, I could show up and have the frame in my mind of I need to get something from them, which is going to be subconsciously communicated. Like people are going to maybe they're not going to consciously pick it up, but they're going to feel it. The other side is if you do what Dave's talking about, where you're showing up as the leader and I am the expert, I am the consultant here, the frame and how you speak, the cadence, the words that you use are different because the way that you frame yourself and the way that you frame the interaction is different in your mind, which subsequently gets translated in your behaviors. And he talks about the prize frame, the power frame. In any situation, there's one person that's a little bit more in power, or one person that's a little bit more of the prize, etc. It's interesting stuff, but I don't want to get too off topic.
Yeah, I'm going to go check that out because that's right in line with another mindset thing that we talk about in Chicken Dinner Club, which is exactly as you said. If we show up in these conversations focused on myself and what I need, the sale, that's going to influence our body language, the pace of our speech, the tone of our voice, the words that we say. We have to show up with, as one of my mentors, Chaz Horn, would say, as with the intent to serve.
Mm,
And if we show up with the intent to serve the person on the other end, then that changes everything. All those subconscious body language cues, nonverbal communication,
yeah.
everything. So I love the idea of the frames. I'm going to go check out the book.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. You made me th the intent to serve. I love that a lot. There's this guy named Josh Lyons who I paid like 12K to for sales training over 4 months, and he said something called "Be the benevolent alpha," which I found super interesting because when he says alpha, and certain people have different connotations with that word, but it means be the leader, be the one that's in charge, and be somebody who is has conviction and confidence in what they're able to do. So they're not a pushover. But then you're benevolent because you're not trying to walk all over people. You have that intent to serve, and you're just overall a kind person. And that helps tremendously when it comes to sales. But I am curious with you. You're in a very good spot with your consulting business, and now you're growing Chicken Dinner Club. When you think over the next, let's say, 2 years, what does success look like for Dave, for you, personally and professionally?
Personally, the answer is always independence,
Mm,
right? I am living in my life where I am not dependent on a corporate job. I am not dependent on a biweekly salary. I'm not dependent on a boss who gives me a good review. That is why in 2021 I quit my job and sat out on my own, is that desire to have that independence. I heard a speaker say one time, and I respect this person quite a bit, but their perspective is that all the big decisions about your career will be made when you're not in the room. And I choose to opt out of that. So personally, success is independence. Professionally, why I'm even entertaining this shiny object of Chicken Dinner Club is because we touched on it earlier. Work is broken post pandemic. The pandemic normalized video meetings, like we're on Zoom right now having this conversation. That was normalized by the pandemic. Remote
true.
work was proven to be effective in the pandemic. But afterwards, there's been a backlash. There were people that took advantage of it because they were trying to be mediocre at 3 different jobs and pulling in 300K a year. You have the mouse wigglers. Quiet quitting was a thing. The lazy girl job phenomena that went through TikTok. And so now we're seeing a huge backlash against all of that. Return to office. Back to the old, if I can't see you working, you're not working, you must be cheating me mentality.
Mm,
And so my mission with Chicken Dinner Club is really a little bit of changing the world. I want to establish independent consulting as a fixture in the future of work. I'm not
mm,
saying it's for everybody. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I want it to be a fixture that when companies want to work with world-class talent, have a need that's just on a fractional project base or interim basis, this is an option that they'll consider. That they don't have to go to big traditional consulting firms. They don't have to make a full-time hire knowing that they really don't need that person full-time. And they don't have to look in their local talent market to find somebody within a 30-minute commute of their office. Because independent consultants, we're all small business owners. Our ability to feed our family is our reputation, right? We cheat a client, we're done. So there's an integrity that comes with being an independent consultant. And I want to support independent consultants so they can grow their business and have that same independence if that's what they want, but also be an evangelist for this in the corporate world that, hey, there is another option, right? There's nothing wrong with full-time employees, but there's also another option. And that's this access to world-class talent on a remote, fractional, temporary project basis that's good for both companies and consultants.
Boom. Mic drop. Powerful.
Thanks.
What is the best way for people to reach out to you to work with you, both to join the Chicken Dinner Club, but also for Seaton CX in the future?
Yeah, Chicken Dinner Club, it's the website, chickendinnerclub.com. First box you'll see in the top left is a free weekly newsletter. I pour my heart into it every week. I get comments that, people hate newsletters, but they absolutely freaking love mine. So yeah, go to chickendinnerclub.com, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Check it out. There's currently a 14-day free trial. You can get in the club. You can watch all of the past trainings. They're all recorded. They live there. You can sign up for free. You can binge watch all the trainings. You can cancel. It's self-service, no awkward emails, no conversations. I really built the thing that
That's
I
awesome.
wished I'd had. If you're interested in understanding your customer behavior so that you can make better business decisions, retain more customers, acquire more customers, lower the cost to serve customers, get a greater share of your customer's wallet, then my consulting website is seatoncx.com. That's my last name, Seaton, and CX for customer experience, seatoncx.com. There's contact forms and all kinds of stuff on there.
Awesome. Beautiful. Dave, thank you so much for your time today.
That's been awesome. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed the conversation. I'm going to go check out that book on frames.
Awesome. Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. That's the one.
Okay.
So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or an agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business, you want to get to 7 figures, maybe you want to even get to 8 figures, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to $30 million in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.